of smithing. It suggests years of metal making. It suggests that someone was making metal in industrial proportions. We have to go to mythology to look for who did what, when. Who did what, when, and when. When you ask those questions, then a lot of things will begin to reveal themselves. You will know that the great question marks and unanswered questions of world history find their solutions in the land of our ancestors. Knowing that nothing lasts forever, we have taken time to analyze these inscriptions, and we have seen that they were a form of writing. You will find that inscriptions, letters from different civilizations at different times are all recorded on the Igbo inscriptions. We found that Dunstan Shaw, the archaeologist who excavated Igbo, and Ebo Eyo, who was in charge of Nigerian museums at that time, in the books they wrote about Igbo, they kept on asking the question, why are Igbo artifacts looking Indian? Till today, nobody has been able to answer that question, but we have. We have found out that indeed, the Igbo inscriptions and the Igbo portrait were Indian. Even what the person buried in the grave, that tomb was wearing, were Indian. If you watch the film Mahabharata, the Indian great epic, you will see the clothing of that person buried in the Igbo. I say she because she wore a crescent, a tiara. Only women wear tiaras. Only women wear tiaras. Men wear full crown. But she also wore a breastplate, U-shaped breastplate, and she wore an armband, a very thick armband. Then she wore rings on her feet, like Mbari. Any of you who knows Mbari, you see Mbari wears rings on her feet. She wore that, and then she had she had a look of other things. Of course, she was wearing this cloth that was made of beads, 111,000 beads, and the headgear that was also strung with beads. If you've ever seen the Mbari mother, you will see the person who was buried in that place. We connect the civilization to the mythology of Eri, the Eri mythology of the Nri people, who say an ancestor called Eri flew in an ark, and landed in Ibubu, and landed in Omambala River, at the place where Omambala and the River Niger form a confluence. He strode, he parked his ark there, came out, and then began a civilization. He came out and began to build a professional priesthood. We recite professional priesthood. There's a lot of information on that in research done by a lot of other people. But what we find in Igbo land is that this is where much of the hidden and the missing information in world history converge. Igbo is a laboratory, Igbo is a library of information that we all should study from various perspectives. Professor Animalo, Alex Animalo, is studying the Igbo inscriptions from the geometric and mathematical perspective. He is studying Ichi from that perspective. In our book, we try to touch on many things to open up several avenues of learning for our people and for research-oriented people. It is from the Ibuku inscriptions that you get a lot of information regarding the connection, the fact that Indians, people who live in India today, were originally living in southeastern, they were living in, let me say, Nigeria. They were originally living in Nigeria. It was from here they migrated. You can follow the course of their migration. In those days, they were called Nagas. They were the snake, the serpent people. That serpent worship, you will see it in Ibuku. You will see so many serpents preserved in Ibuku. And you will see symbols that belong to the Indian culture, and you see symbols that belong to Egyptian culture, and you see symbols that belong to even Greek culture. Different stages of civilization that combine themselves in a Ibuku. You will see all these things, and you'll be able to now decide what aspect of the research interests you. Like the professor here has picked up the mathematical aspect. The first people were not just Igbos, they were the first people in the world. The first people were the first people in the world, and they lived here. And it was here that culture, civilization, knowledge, religion was first cooked and prepared before it was being given out to different parts of the world. Different stages of civilization have taken place here. The first one, which we talked about, is the Homo erectus stage, when culture was, when man was beginning to discover himself, clothe himself in body adornments, create his environment, dig a hole and live in it, and stuff like that. Make food. Then he started farming. That's when he became Homo sapiens. He began to farm, make his own food. These are stages of developments that took place where you and I are sitting today in ancient Nigeria, in ancient Igbo land. Now, that stage was the stage of the first people. Our people are still telling the stories of the first people to this day. We can't eclipse that and say it didn't happen. It happened. The mythologies of Igbo land are still talking about the first people who talked with God, who lived with God, who conversed with God, which you find in your religious literature today. Those were events that happened here. We have, through our research, also discovered what's the connection between the Hebrews and the Igbo people. How is it that our culture and our language and their culture and their language are the same to a very large extent? And we found that the connecting spot was Punt. Punt was a great civilization. Punt was the city of light, the city of the sun, whose capital was Ibuku, of course. But when you talk Punt, you are talking about the Kwa nation. It was a nation to which the ancestors of the Bini and the Yoruba and the Do and the Igala, Ashanti, Akan, this was the place where all these people took off from. Great and mighty things happened here. This Punt civilization was the pre- and post-deluge civilization, because all the mythologies talk about the time when the earth was under water. And this god man came and performed the land reclamation project, from which this land was now raised from water, and people were able to live in it. So the mythologies of the Nigerian peoples, the Bini, the Igbo, the Yoruba, they converge. They say the same thing about what happened when the earth was under water, and how someone came, instructed by God, to come and raise the land from water and build a city. This same story, you will find it in the work of Thoth, the Egyptian god of knowledge and writing. Thoth said that he was called upon to lead the remnants of Atlanteans before the subcontinent was submerged. That the god called him and said, take these people and go to the land of the cavemen, and there build a new civilization. All the details given in Thoth's work, the Emerald Tablet of Thoth, the Atlantean, are found in the mythologies of the Igbo, the Yoruba, and the Benin.